Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the She Got Lucky podcast, where we dive in deeper to beyond what you see on the Instagram feed, beyond the highlights, beyond the announcements, and we dive into what it really takes to get lucky in this wild world we live in. The women we have on this podcast are truly like nothing else. I spend so much time picking out the very best for you, and today is absolutely no exception. Today I have a very, very special guest who is so close to my heart, and she's actually a long-term client of mine. So I've been able to witness the insane powerhouse she has become, and I really want to allow you to see what's possible, because can I tell you, there has been so many moments where things have been hard. Bushra, who is our beautiful guest today, she has been through so much. There has been so many moments where she could have decided to stop, to give up, to pull back, to not show up. And at every point, she has chosen the path of most resistance, and she has gotten comfortable and stepped out. And it is absolutely no surprise that she is where she is today. So it is such a pleasure to be able to bring her onto the podcast. From the woman who started with me back in 2020 to the absolute powerhouse who has created multiple streams of income in her business. She's created a wildly successful Instagram community who jumps every time she shares a new offer, to having a team of 8, to starting a homeschooling membership. There is no stopping this woman, and I want to share her journey with you today so that way, no matter where you are in your own journey, I know you'll be able to take something from this episode away and be able to apply it to your own. I know that today will be a really beautiful and inspiring episode, and I can't wait to dive in. Now, full disclosure, this intro has taken me much longer than it usually does. And that's because I just have so much to say about Bushra. There is so much I could tell you. There's so much I could rave about. But rather than me going on and on, because let's be honest, this episode's about her. Let me get her on, let her start talking, and let's hear her passion, her love, her drive, and her very inspiring story. Now, this episode, I may get emotional because this is a very, very special one. I have got my longest standing client, my longest client that I've been able to work with. And she has seen the most expansive, life-changing movements that she's created. And so I wanted to get her on the podcast today to not only share her She Got Lucky story, but also to just share with you, no matter where you are, where you can get to through the work, through showing up consistently. So Bushra, my beautiful Bushra, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here and share my story with you all today.
So, Bushra, I warned you, we start the episodes with your She Got Lucky story. So have you got one to share with us?
I do.
Yes.
And I sure do. And I had it in my notes section ready to think about, because I'm like, you know, which parts in my journey, you know, have I come across that? And then I was able to kind of like pinpoint it, to nail it down to my Instagram. And that's where it started. And it's always kind of been something that has come up with my Instagram. And it was when I get told a lot that it must be easy for you because you've got such a great Instagram and you've already got that. And, you know, it's all set up, it's all ready. So it's easy for you to get clients and it's easy for you to sort of achieve these results because your Instagram is just so great. And I get that a lot from a lot of people when they see my page. They're like, oh, that's so great. You're doing really good stuff, as though it's not hard work and it's not like it was just set up.
Yeah, like the amount of work and the amount of consistency you've pushed through to get here, that most definitely isn't luck.
Yes, exactly. And I guess it comes up a lot because, you know, people think that I have somebody doing my Instagram or I have someone sort of managing it. And I've said this so many times that since I started in 2019, no one's had access to my page. No one's ever posted for me. I've never, ever let go of that job. And going back to 2019, I only had 300 followers. I built them up just through, I guess, like friends and, you know, people following, what I did in my teaching journey when I was teaching back in the schools back then. And I'd share what I do in my classroom, how I'd organize things, what I'd set up. And I built 300 followers without even trying. It was just sort of it just sort of naturally came from my personal account that I said, I've started a teaching page, so, follow along. And it sort of just stuck there at 300 followers. And I didn't really do much with it until the idea was to start my business.
Yeah.
But it was so much work. Working on, your Instagram page is a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work. And I guess people understand that because they say, I don't know how you do it all.
But at the same time, they're also kind of like, yeah, but it just kind of happened for you. You just kind of got lucky.
Yes. So people, I guess the perspective is that, okay, you've built your Instagram and it just sort of happened. It just works for you now. It must be easy for you to book clients in and share new offerings, and easily has just happened.
Yeah.
I guess that's my biggest thing that I face all the time, because it just looks like somebody's doing it for me and I'm not really doing anything either. So it comes across that, I have someone managing my Instagram page and building it up, and, that's how now I am where I am.
Yes. And have you had anyone sort of like in your close circle, be it, people you've hired, people, your family, your friends, clients, has anyone in that sort of close proximity said anything that, like insinuated, oh, well, it was just luck?
I guess to think about it, when I'm thinking about your question, I guess it comes across not directly like where they say it's just luck, but it sort of is, it's just the attitude, or I guess the language that they use.
Yeah.
So, if I've done something and I want to share it, something that I'm proud of, I feel like I hold back a little bit because it sort of comes across like from their end that, oh, well, you're just so good at it.
Yeah.
And I guess they are complimenting. Yeah.
Do you have was there, and if you're comfortable sharing this, if not, we can just cut this out, but was there, now we don't have to say accountant, we can cut this out, but what was that experience? Yeah. Do you want to share that part?
Yes. So I did have somebody helping me on the business side of things. I would say that, not to be specific, but it was more admin related. And looking at, I guess when I first started out, there were a lot of doubts that this business will sort of last or if it will excel. And there was a comment that was made that, why don't you just give this up and just go back to teaching? Isn't that just going to be easier for you?
Yeah, by someone you were paying to assist with the admin and, the sides of the business.
So yeah, they were assisting. They were looking at the business from a different perspective. And it was a year where we had lockdown. So in Melbourne, we had lockdown, and it was a really tough lockdown. And a lot of businesses didn't survive, and a lot of businesses were, I guess, selling, or, I saw a lot of lease signs come up. A lot of people were just giving it up because it was too hard. We thankfully survived that. That was probably in my first year, because we did open up in 2020 and went into 2021 as well. So 2021 was when I had the studio, so I had the lease. And during that time was when things weren't the way that they normally would look. Like, I guess with clients, with business, we had a lot of client credits that we had to wait to sort of process once we could open back up again for face-to-face learning.
Yeah.
And then that comment sort of came in, just looking at numbers and looking at the time, well, now there's a bit of a pause on income, and we were getting, the government grants just to help us out a little bit. But we survived it because I just knew that this is just what do they say? What's that
season?
So it's just a season passing and we'll get through it.
Yeah.
And I believed in the business, and I just knew the potential that it had. So when this person made this comment, I said, but you're not even considering what we're going through. We're going through a pandemic that no one's really faced it. And I'm not at a position where I have to shut my business down. Yeah. I'm not in a position where the business is suffering. It's just not as great as it would be. But once we're past this, it'll be fine.
I love this, because whilst it's not like, whilst it's not, oh, you're so lucky, it's actually like this comment of doubt, which this is how you get quote unquote lucky, is when you have so much belief in yourself, if you have so much belief in what you're creating, that despite the doubt, despite the comments from someone you trust inside your business, it's not even just a friend or family or someone from the outside passing, someone inside, and the fact that they're like, oh, do you just want to go back to your job? And you're like, no, I'm not in it for the quick results. I'm not in it for the overnight, look, this is the proof that this will succeed. I'm in it for the long term because I know that I'm Bushra and I make magic. And even if it might not be your kind of magic that you can see right now, I know it's coming. So that power right there, I think, is absolutely incredible and such a credit to you.
Thank you.
All right, so let's dive into your journey. So I love this so much because I really have had the pleasure of just seeing you absolutely just skyrocket, shine all the absolute best things. Coming back, let's go back, Bushra, to deciding to leave your job. You were working in a school or you were working in childcare?
In school.
You're working in a school. So let's go back. Yeah. What actually got you to be like, let's not leave? You weren't at that stage yet, but let's start this on the side.
Yeah, so I worked in schools for 6 years. When the pandemic hit in 2020, I was just wondering, I really need a change. I need something different. And this came about in 2019. I decided to sort of start thinking about selling learning packs because it was something that was just sort of starting at that point. But they were booklets, and I kind of thought, people are selling these personalized learning packs and they're booklets, so once a child uses it, that's it. And I thought I wanted to create something innovative and fun and something that parents could reuse year after year. So I started sort of thinking about it, and it was one of those things, I'll just wait till the time is right. I'll just wait. And then 2020 hit and we had more time because we were outside of the classroom. The students were no longer coming to school. And I thought this might be the right time to sort of start looking into how I can put this learning pack into motion. And then I launched that in July 2020. Started a website, which was really cool. And we had all of the stock on my son's change table. So we had taken off everything, obviously all of his baby stuff.
You launched it in July 2020. What do you mean launched?
So I had a date and I said the website will be live, and my Instagram following was still around 300. I was trying to build it up, had no idea what I was doing. I guess I was just posting, oh, this is coming. And then I guess I showed the learning pack and I said, this is the date. I can't remember exactly what the date was. I think it was the 12th of July. In 2020, and the website went live. And then I went on the website and I'm like, no one's buying anything. I thought, like, this is the best way, this is how it gets done. And I didn't really get any sales that day. And it slowly started to work. Like, I slowly started seeing sales and results, but it was really slow. It wasn't enough for me to say, I'm going to leave my full-time job, because if I don't get an influencer sharing, then the sales are really slow.
Yeah,
so people didn't really know.
Talk to us. So how much were the learning packs when you launched?
150.
150. Okay, cool. So you didn't get the result you want, which I feel like is almost everyone. Like, unless you invest in someone who's launched and can show you their strategy, if you just try and do it yourself, I feel like this is everyone. Like, they launch and they're like, I'm ready. And then it's like crickets, and you get to experience that. But so the packs were, you started selling them, and where were you seeing your sales from? Did it start with some friends? Did it start with Instagram? Where did you start seeing some of the sales from?
There was one friend that I knew from high school. She was the first one to purchase. I still remember that. Yeah, it was sort of influencers. So I had people that I had connected with previously, sent out about 10 learning packs out to them. And there was a lot of sharing happening. And then that's sort of where I got most of the sales.
Amazing.
There were a lot of sales. A lot of people were, really excited about the learning packs. They found that they were professional. I was getting a lot of really good feedback. Mm-hmm. And then I guess I just sort of started thinking, towards the end of the year, I just started feeling the real pressure of being inside a school. And my passion for teaching was just sort of non-existent. I just sort of wanted to teach, but because of all the politics, the admin side of things, it took away that love of teaching, and I couldn't really flourish myself. I couldn't flourish as an educator anymore, and I felt like, why am I reaching this point after 6 years? That, something's going to change. So I knew I wanted to do something, but I hadn't decided just yet until the end of the year when the principal had said, you know, we need to renew your contracts and you need to reapply for your job. So in the government school system, you sometimes have to reapply for your job and go for another interview, even though you're already working there. It's a really strange concept because they know you, so whether they want to renew it or not, but they make you sit another interview.
That's all right. It was the push. It was the push. It was the reminder.
Yeah. And I guess when I saw the email from the principal, I was like, I don't know what she wants to talk to me about. I'm pretty sure it's about my contract. And at that point, I was like, maybe I'll go part-time next year. Because I had a little one. My son was about 3 at the time. And a lot of the teachers said to me, we don't know how you work full-time with a child. Everyone here that has kids is part-time. And then I considered sitting the interview and I was like, I actually don't want to do that. I don't want to sit in an interview. It's hard work. You really have to prepare for these teacher interviews. I remember I had like 5 pages of notes the last interview I sat. And it's a lot of preparation. I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to prove myself by sitting in an interview because I know I'm a good educator. I know I'm a good teacher. I know that, you know, I have this passion and love for teaching. And if someone can't see that and they're making me sit in an interview, then I just don't want to do it. And I didn't want to go through that anymore.
Yeah. Like, and I guess it was that you're proving yourself, you're putting in the work for something that you don't actually even want anymore.
Yes, exactly. This is the thing. I don't want to sit another interview. I don't want to sort of go through that anxiety of just sitting around and doing something and that I don't want to do. And he was like, okay. And I said, I think I want to just lease a space and start a tutoring studio. Like, I've always wanted to do that. I've been wanting to do it for years. Like, I've always wanted to do it, but it was always like, yeah, right, you know, or imagine we could open up our own school, or imagine we could open up our own education centre. And it was always like, yeah, in my mind, it was like, yeah, right, that's too hard. You need a lot of money for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's very different to it. Yeah, very, very different to put in a lease when you're just starting out, you know, and you've just bought a home and you've got your little one. That takes a lot of guts.
Yeah, it was scary, but I was always, my thought was I could do casual relief teaching if things went bad, because it's about $400 a day that you would get if you were to do casual relief teaching. So it was like, that could be my fallback. I could do that. And that was the plan. And I always said that maybe I'll do 2 days of casual relief teaching just to make sure we've still got income flowing. But I never needed to do that. And it was like, I never needed to do that. Like, I hope I never have to, but I wasn't in that position where I started out and I only gave myself a week from school ending. So, you know, the Christmas break. And then I started straight away in January, that first week. And I put it out on my Instagram. And that's when people saw what I created, because I always wanted to create like a calming learning environment in my own classroom at school. But it always get told off. Like, you can't have a diffuser in here. You can't have glass jars in here. You can't have this in here. And I was like, but it just makes it nice for the kids, like makes it a little bit more inviting.
So you got to create your dream space yourself.
Yeah. And I loved it. And I guess people saw it and were like, I want my child to learn with you. And that's, I got booked out with Miss B straight away.
I love it. Let's go back to when we started working together. So I can't remember the exact date, but I definitely know it was before you opened up the learning studio. You were still working and you were selling the cards. So let's talk back to that, Bushra. Where were you? How are you feeling? What made you think, okay, I need some help here?
Yeah, so that was when I was still working at the school in 2020, and I remember looking at, you know, I guess the sales, and I thought, well, if I need this to sort of cover my income so that way I could leave the schools, because there was no idea of, I guess, opening up the tutoring studio at that point, because as I said, I thought you need like millions of dollars to do something like this. Yeah. And I just remember feeling like I really want this to work, but I need a better approach and I need some help with Instagram, like just some help with, you know, I guess even just like the colors and all of that. And then I remember reaching out to you and you said, have you tried Reels? And I was like, oh no, I'm not doing that.
I love this so much. It really is just a showcase of like how long it's been since that first time we worked together.
Oh my God. I still remember that reel. Like my first reel. But I remember saying to you, no, I'm not doing that. Just whatever. Could we do something else? Because I'm not doing that.
Yeah. So in that first call, so it was a coaching call. And, you know, like obviously my prices back then were very different from what they are today, but that was still a big investment. How did you sort of weigh up the fact that you're like, okay, I want this to work. I know I need a different approach. I know I need help, but investing when it doesn't feel right to be investing.
I don't know. I guess I've always...
I feel like that's happened. Like there's been a few points where, because we've worked together on and on. You've come into sort of one-on-one coaching. You've come into the playground, and there's definitely been bits where I've been supporting from afar. I've been cheering from afar, and you've been doing your own thing. And when we come back and work together, it's always not always, but it's a case of that moment where you're like, something's not working, but how do I justify when things perhaps aren't working how I want to be investing this amount?
I guess back then we hadn't worked together, and I know what the answer is to that question for the following times. But I guess I was like, I'll try this out. I feel like Alicia would be a really good fit for the business, and I'll give it a go. And, I learned very quickly that you have to sort of invest in your business to sort of help it flourish, and you have to find that right fit. And then I guess after that, every other time that we've worked together, it's just been, I know the results and I know it's going to work. I guess that's what helps me take that leap, is because of the results, because I know what you're putting in, you multiply it, like what you get back. And had you not sort of helped me from that point, I would have just been like another 10 steps back. So in that point, like when I posted that reel, people just loved it. Like it was just, and I was like, all right, let's do more.
Yes. What I'll do actually, I'll get you to find that reel because it's a little bit back, and we'll share it in the show notes so that way anyone listening can actually go back and look. That first reel where you started. And I remember being on that coaching call and I was talking you through it because, as Bushra said, we were in lockdown. So both on Zoom, and I was talking Bushra through how to film, what to do, how to sort of feel less awkward, how to feel more comfortable, how to do the transitions. And so you walked away, you had this reel ready, you shared it, and then that was the beginning. Unlocked an absolute beast of a Bushra because she's like, look at what's possible.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And if you compare it to like my current reels now, I guess it's really amazing to see the difference. And I've never deleted anything because I love going back and seeing how my Instagram looked like back then.
Yeah. So let's talk about, so let's sort of jump ahead. So we had that first time working together. From there, you've opened the learning studio. Bigger things are happening. You've got multiple things happening. So by this point, you've got the product, but you've also now got a service that you're bringing on clients for. So what did you find maintain those results of bringing in new clients and bringing in new sales?
It was showing up on Instagram. It's always my answer when anyone asks me this, because I'm sort of being approached by different people, different sort of people in family or, friends, and say, do this, as a different, what do you do for marketing? Like, how do you market your business? And I was like, I know there's so many ways you can do it, but Instagram's like my main source of income. I guess my main platform. I can't sort of not post. Like I can't just sort of drop off on my Instagram. I've kind of got to keep it up and nurture it because it's like the baby of the business. It's like the foundation.
Yeah. So you started as, working product on the side. Where you're at today. So from the point where it's like started as created a launch, no sales on the first night, where is your business at today in terms of what you've created, both your life financially and physically, what the business is now? Talk us through where we're at versus that first night.
So I have 2 locations at the moment in Melbourne, in Victoria. 2 locations. I've got 6 staff, like we're a team of 6 plus 2 admin staff. So the team continues to grow and it's a great team. I've got a very, when they say it's not about quantity, it's quality, and the quality in my team is just amazing. Like I'm really blessed to have such a supportive and great team working for me. I've got a membership for homeschooling mums, so that is running at the moment, where I support mums in more of a coaching approach, and it's been a great sort of a different thing for me to sort of implement, which has been awesome. Yeah, we're booked out with all of our tutoring studios are booked out most of the time. So we'll only have 1 or 2 openings, perhaps, each term. So the tutors just have ongoing clients. And that's one of my favorite things about the business is our ongoing clients that have been with us in 2021. And whether it's the same students, like their same kids, or whether they have other kids that are ready to do tutoring, because we do start at ages 3 to grade 6. I love it. I love having, the families that are reoccurring and, building a relationship with the families. It's like we've built like a little mini school. And I say we because without the team, like I couldn't just be doing this all on my own. So,
but also you've built that team. You've built that team. You've built these like 2 spaces with multiple tutors who are now booked out. And because you yourself have been able to step back a lot, haven't you? Versus what you started with when you were the only one.
Yeah.
Versus now you're able to step back. You're able to have your, CEO Bushra days. You're able to live a very incredible life whilst a lot of things are still happening in the background because of what you've built.
Yeah, that's right. Like I'm very fortunate to sort of be able to take that step back, spend time with my kids and my family. Also being able to just take that time off, with my family when I need to throughout the year. So I don't just have limited holidays. Like we can take that time off if we need to reconnect as a family and we need to do things together. Then I've got that time. I've also got time for my kids' appointments, time for myself. So it's been great. I'm also able to provide that time for my staff. So if they need time off, we can be flexible and, I can give them that opportunity as well.
So let's talk about money. How do we feel about that?
It's like, it's something that's just never something that I grew up where it was okay to share these things. And I guess, and I guess you know what I mean when, come across and you're talking about money, it's like, you shouldn't share those things.
So, because growing up, what was that like? What sort of, what environment and way of money, in way of you potentially starting your own business, what was that sort of like in the way of like the idea of it?
I guess it was just like, this is not a good risk that you're taking because, you've got a family, you've got a mortgage, what are you going to do? What if it doesn't work out? And for me, I had to come across with family members or anyone that sort of was in that close proximity to me. When it came to starting my business, I had to be comfortable with my decision. I wasn't asking for anyone's opinion. It was, this is what I'm doing. Do you want to come along and you want to watch along or whatever, support me? More than welcome to. But if not, this is what I want to do because I don't want to sort of sit back and regret not doing this. I don't want to, wait another 10 years and go, I should have just done that because that would have probably been a better opportunity back then than waiting until, my kids are older.
So let's talk about, because I want to talk about your growth financially and I want to talk about your growth in way of Instagram as well, because that is its own story in itself. So in way of, let's do Instagram first and then we're going to dive into your superpowers of making thousands on lives and then all the different sources of income into your business from that starting to position to where you are now. So let's talk about you started to, with starting to post reels, you did start to see, growth. And the part that I love most about this, Bushra, that I really want you to share is that you didn't have necessarily the story that a lot of people claim as luck, right? So people see me and they're like, oh, well, you grew really quickly because you jumped on reels at the start. And for you, you went all in on reels and you saw great results in your business. And I'm not to say that's not to say you didn't grow, but you were quite sort of, the organic growth was a little bit slower in a sense. For what would you say, maybe the first 2.5 years, you were, do you want to talk us through that growth, that progression? Because despite the fact that we'd done coaching and we were working on this, the organic side, anyone looking on Instagram would only see that you blew up quite recently. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so the process, it was slow. I was stuck on, a few thousand followers for a long time. At times, it can be really disheartening because you kind of think, I'm doing all this work, why aren't I getting 100,000 followers? Why aren't I getting 50,000 followers or whatever? And I guess it was just a little bit slower than, I would have hoped. But I guess it's just I had to think about that perspective of what matters most with the business, having 100,000 followers or having, 7,000 followers. But
so you built, so what would you say? Was it the first 3 years you'd sort of built it up to about 7,000?
Yes. And then Last year there was a reel that now has about 7.1 million views, and that's what sort of I saw the jump. I was like, whoa, what's going on here? And that viral type feeling where you're like, oh yeah, this is cool. And then I built up, I think I have about 23,000, can't remember, around that mark of followers. Like it just sort of jumped. I remember back then I filmed a podcast with someone, and by the time the podcast like was ready to be released, they're like, you had 7,000 followers. You now have 14,000. What happened? And I was like, they're like, was it organic? I was like, yeah, I've only ever had like organic reach. So I guess I've had to be really patient for those 3 years. When I first started.
And I think the credit though is that despite the fact that the business was working, for a lot of people, especially when you're investing in leveling up your Instagram, leveling up the organic marketing, when you're not seeing necessarily the followers or you're not seeing the virality, how did you know that it was still worthwhile for you to keep showing up? How did you know that it was still worthwhile for you to keep investing in growing your Instagram?
I think because the results weren't followers, like it wasn't views, it was like that those one or two people that would reach out and need that support. So I guess like it just depends on how you look at it. Like, you know, looking at views, like sometimes I'll post something and I'll get, 18 likes. Another day I'll post something else and I'll get like nearly 200 likes. So not looking at those numbers, I guess, sort of helped me because I know that it works because obviously we've worked a lot together and sort of understood it a little bit more. So I'm at a different place where I'm not focusing on these little things. I'm not focusing on, 18 likes. Well, this is crap. Like I don't have that. I'm just like, yeah, cool. But the 18 people that liked it are interested in what I'm doing and they're following along. And that's enough for me, knowing that. I just thinking back now, something that you said to me when we first started working together. And I think you said something like every reel that you posted, and this doesn't have to be that 100% accurate, but it's been for me, has always converted, like even if it was like one conversion. And I kept that in my mind, and that's happened for me, depending on the perspective you're looking at it. Like if you're looking at like she only got 18 likes, but for me, I may have gotten 2 messages in my inbox and got 2 people on our tutoring waitlist. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think what the way you have grown it is such a fantastic way because it didn't blow up overnight at the start, but you actually built one of the most wildly engaged, hot communities. Like I remember working with some clients and they're like, oh, do you know any sort of like, smaller mums who would have an engaged audience and would be great for this? I was like, yeah, you should reach out to Learn with Miss B. She might not have 100,000 followers, but the followers she has are so like engaged. They're buying her things, they're taking her recommendations. You had influence, regardless of the fact that you didn't have thousands, tens and thousands of followers. You had a lot of influence because you were focusing on those that you had, not those that you wanted.
And that makes me think about the live sales.
Let's talk about the live sales. So I have always said one of your superpowers is jumping onto an Instagram live and coming off with, oh, I just made a couple thousand. Oh, I just made a cheeky 800. Oh, I just, like this. Yeah. So let's talk about it. Lives. How have you used it a part of your strategy and how have you made it as a quick cash injection way of showing up?
It's really funny because if I need to make, I'll talk to a friend and I'll say, I really want to buy this new coffee machine or something like that. And then if I jump on a live, she messages me. She's like, is this for your new coffee machine? Like as a joke. Because I'm like, kind of. So... Or, we joke around, like, I'm like, oh, really need to get this. I'm like, I'll do it live today. It's always been this.
But, this, how fun is that? How fun is it that you've got not only something that works, because I know that a lot of people have sort of said, oh, lives aren't as good as they were. Lives are different now. Mm-hmm. And it's like, again, maybe not as many people jump on lives, but you show up and you seem to always have fun. You come up with fun ideas, So if you aren't following Bushra, I'll put her details below. But she'll do these lives, and I think that we've sort of spoken about how you can make them more and more powerful as you've gone. But bringing in this fun element, if anyone in my world knows that bringing more fun into your business is exactly what I'm here for, because when you're having more fun, it feels easier to show up. You're showing up with a different energy. You're more magnetic, and that's when the most explosive results in your business happen. And when you show up on lives, it's like, I've just decided if you jump on this live, 40% off our learning packs just for this live.
Yeah.
I'm about to switch it off. Oh, Harry just bought. Oh, Tina just bought. Oh, Lisa. And you're there having these live sales.
Yes, it's so much fun. Like, I'll come up with different discount codes or a different offer, and I'm like, oh, and we've got cookies as well. So it's been like another little addition where I'm like, you get a cookie. You know what? I'm giving you 2 cookies. I just go crazy with it. But it just reminds me of, like, the salespeople that used to stand outside like Bevel's or, those stores, and they had the microphone and they're like, this and this and this. And I was like, I kind of feel like I'm like that, but I'm more of a fun level. And the thing is, the discount's only valid while you're on the live.
How freaking cool though. It's like midweek flat, let's do a live because it's fun. Oh, and it makes it makes a good cash injection in the middle of the week as well. And right there, though, is a real credit to you, because I feel like a lot of people are so craving results right now that they've lost the fun, and they've also lost the fact that we are on social media and people want to be entertained. People want to be a part of something. People want to be a part of your journey, and you're constantly finding new ways to do this. So the power of your live sales, I absolutely, I love seeing the way that you continue to find different ways to do this, and you've really made it such a superpower of yours. So a massive credit there. Let's dive into, okay, so in way of, because you've got Shopify for your product, you've then got the aspect of the tutoring business, you've then got the homeschooling membership, the Homeschool Hive. So where would you say your business is at?
So I guess, like, coming from a teacher salary and, just having something that I didn't mention, but, for me, the salary that I was getting when I was working at a school was like, this is, I guess, boring, and it's always the same. And I kind of was like, I can't really do much with this. I can't really. And it was when I was sort of starting to invest in the business before I left my job. And I was like, all right, wait for my, my paycheck, and this is the amount. How much can I put aside to invest? And it was always the same. And, from a young age, I kind of always like to sell things. Like, people that know me know, like, I was always like selling something.
The entrepreneur from the beginning.
So it was like, So it always was like, hold on, and I love that. I love, like, being salesy. Like, I love, like, calling people up, be like, yep, I'll drop it off now, and what time? Yep, I'll grab 2 products for you or whatever. I love that, always had that in me. So when I went to school, I was like, hold on, I love teaching, but also while I was teaching, I was tutoring at home on the Saturday morning. So it was like, I loved having just like extra cash and just building up like the extra cash. But I was like, I'm so limited because I'm working full time. When I started the business, I was like, like when I was getting enrollments and I was booked out straight away. Like, I was booked out the moment I launched the studio. I booked out because it was just me working, and I was doing crazy hours, like working from 8 a.m. till 7 p.m. most days. And I was like, yeah, this is good. Like, this is really good income. And I was getting excited about it. And then I guess now they're building it up so much that I look at the figures now and I'm like, it's scary to see how much, like, I look at without expenses, I'm not considering expenses, but I look at what the business has made this year and I'm like, that's really scary. So getting close to $1 million. Yeah.
Sorry, but we just need to take a little moment, because this has been like less than 4 years you have created this entire empire. You've got the products, you've got the tutoring, you've got the team, you've got this online world, which is completely new. No one else in Australia, no one else is really doing this. And you are paving the way whilst on your way to building a seven-figure company.
That's the goal. We're not there yet, but we're close. Like, we're close, and it's scary, but it's also like, it's exciting just to see the business just grow. And I don't know. It's like it's hard to sort of talk about, but it's just looking at it from that perspective. Like, when I see numbers, when I do my accounting stuff, when I have time to sit there and do it, I'm like, oh, like, that's a lot. That's a big number, but. It's also allowed, me to pay my staff. Like, I pay wages I pay wages, I pay expenses. Like there's expensive, but I'm able to do that, and and the perspective that I've sort of started to look at is like when I look at my wages figures, I'm like, it's really high, but I'm like, I'm paying for their lifestyle too. Like I'm paying for their life, and I'm supporting other people. And I'm like, that's just so nice that I can do that. I'm in a position to be able to do that.
So let's talk about, there's just one or two more things I want to chat about before I'll let you go on to your day. You joined the playground 3 months ago, I think. So let's talk about why you joined the playground.
So I wanted like that, I've always loved having that support, and that, working with you for so many years, I feel like it's just having that connection, having that support there has been really powerful for my business, because it's given me opportunities to sort of look at things from a different perspective and, bringing that fun element in and learning about ways that I can sort of do it. It just sort of it's kind of like having another little team like on my side supporting my business, because there's other members in the playground. So being able to connect with them too just makes business feel like less lonely, but also powerful, because you're not just in something where you guys just chit chat about random things. Like there's a focus, there's a purpose. And I've loved like what we've learned so far has just been amazing for the business, because I go away and I implement it. And it's like I have like another boss like holding me accountable.
And because we've just introduced the Play Bigger calls, and that's a monthly bonus where we jump on, we create our intention, and it's about that accountability of, this is not a time to be working on clients. This is not a time to be, answering emails. Yes. This is a time to be making the moves that you've been procrastinating on because they're big. What if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't go how you wanted? When it's bigger, we can have a bigger result, but of course we can have, a bigger, like in the negative as well. It's a risk, but taking those big risks because you so believe in what you're creating, that's when it pays off. And I love that you've really taken these on. So I love that. How would you describe, for anyone sort of like looking at the playground, how would you describe the playground, and what would you say? Because, for them, perhaps they're thinking about it and they're like, oh, but it's just not really the right time. I want to wait until, my monthly income is a little bit more. I want to wait until this part. What would you say to them?
I would say don't wait, because if it's something that you need and you know that you need, waiting isn't just not going to change anything. Like you want to make the changes now, and you want to see the results sooner. So you want to see that your business is sort of changing and evolving rather than waiting and waiting and waiting, because you can invest in it now and you'll start seeing the results and feeling that support. And the best thing is, like, as a business owner, feeling that power rather than, going, putting things off. Like take that powerful move and just do it, because waiting isn't, I just don't think it's, like there's no point. Like I always think if I want to do something, I'm not going to wait to do it. Like I'll just do it now, because I'm really impatient. So I think if I wait, then I see the results later. It's something that's just not ideal for me. And for me, I've seen incredible things like every month. So you just don't want to miss it. So you want to get in on it now.
You can start achieving, you can start seeing those incredible results every month. And I think that's a big thing, because the most successful businesses right now, the businesses that are blowing up, they aren't waiting. The businesses you're looking at their results and you're thinking, oh, I want that, they're not waiting. So if you want those results, if you want that change, if you want that power, if you want that fun, if you want that monthly income to blow up, stop waiting. I absolutely love that. And as well, the power piece, Bushra, because I talk about this a bit, is like when you find your power, and I love it because I can see when clients join or I work with clients, I can see your power even if you can't. And to be able to help you bring that out, and I'm like, damn, she just did that. And you're like, yeah, I don't mind. I don't care. What might people say? I don't care. Like that sort of power of like, I'm doing this because I know it's like, yes, I know it's going to blow up, or I'm doing this because I know my dream client needs to hear that. That level is out of this world.
Yes, that's definitely a word I've learned from you, power.
My final sort of question for you is, last week's episode, I spoke about long-term mentorship, the power of not jumping from coach to coach, program to program. So you've been working with me since 2020 and you're not the same person. I'm not the same person. Like, we have been able to grow together. The way that I can coach you, the way that I can help you is unlike any of my other clients because I've been able to support you through all the different ups and downs. And I've seen how resilient you are in times. So there's points where it might feel hard and I'm like, hang on a second. We went through this, you achieved that, you stuck out this, like your resilience is there. So there's just so many aspects of, because we've been working with each other for so long, there's so much power here. So I would love to know, like, what for you, why for you have you not bounced around? And, you know, there's nothing wrong changing it up as well. Nothing wrong changing it up as well. But what for you, why have you continued to build this business together, like with the support of myself?
So I feel like no one understands me or knows me the way that you do. So it's like, you know, it's like being in a relationship, you know, so somebody really, you get to know someone, you really understand them. And that way you can sort of bring out the best in me or you can support me best. And one of the big things, like every time we've had a call, every time we've worked together, I've gone, yes, oh my God, yes, yes, oh my God, that is so good. That is so good. Like, they are my comment every time, like looking at you, like work on something with me, like when you share screen and you're doing something, I'm like, oh my God, that is so good. That is so good. Like every single time, like without a doubt. I'm just like, God, oh my God, like that is so, like, that is going to be so epic. That's going to be amazing. Like, it's never like having that, you know, that right person that really understands you. I can't compare it to, you know, to anything. Like, it's just, you need to have that person. I think even if I worked with someone else for something completely different, like let's say for emails or, you know, ads or something like that, I still know that like I've got you to fall back on and say, you know, what are your thoughts around this? And I trust you. Whereas, you know, it's like going to like a new skin clinic that you've never been to and you're like, your other skin ladies kind of like stopped working and then you're like, you're still hesitant because you're like, she doesn't even know me.
I love that. That is such a good analogy. That's such a good analogy. And, you know, I think the way I see it as well is it's kind of like, it's a train, right? You're jumping on the train when you are working with a mentor or a coach who is constantly investing in themselves, constantly stepping outside and trying new things that might not work, might work. They're going to learn so much, and everything that they're doing, you're on the train with them. So they're like steaming ahead and you're on the train with them. So that's the big thing for me is like, if you're investing in someone who sees the power of investing in themselves, then it's a no-brainer, because the person you get now, the advice you get now will only continue to grow as you grow. As you reach your new level, your coach will be in a different phase and they'll be able to bring these things in. And I think that that's so underrated. I really think that's so underrated, and you're just such a big testament to that. And I truly am so proud of everything you've become, everything you've achieved. You know, the way you handle challenges these days, it's just like things that would used to have broken you, things that, you know, comments that people make, things that people say, a client leaving, you know, like, you just, everything you handle in such a different way, and you manage to turn into absolute like pure gold. You know, something doesn't work out, you're like, that's okay. What if we did this? Let's try change this. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, this worked out better for me. You know, you are so freaking incredible, and I know that it's only going to get better and better. I'm thinking that perhaps in a year's time we need another episode to see what's happened in a year, because you really are just continuing to blow the internet up in a space that not many people have entered. So just such a big congratulations to you.
Thank you. It's been an amazing journey.
And it's not stopping. It's absolutely not stopping. So, you know, and that's the power, is you're in the playground, you know, it's a whole year, and I built the playground. So it's not like if at the end of the year, like we've just said, right, is you get the opportunity to become an alumni, because the person you get, the programs you get are different each year. And this is the power. I saw how underrated long-term mentorship was. I have never had an offer like this. And it's people like you, Bushra, who are just like, well, of course, this is a no-brainer. You know, like that in itself is such a credit to the entrepreneur you are and the belief you have in yourself. So I have no doubt that you will only continue to go up and up, blow it up, and just build this life that you can continue to just not get enough of. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for jumping on the podcast, having a good old chat, and just really recognizing your journey and the growth. And it's been such a pleasure. So a parting message.
I would say what somebody said to me years ago, and I can't remember the exact quote, but something along the lines of, if you don't take the risk, if you don't jump, you just spend like your whole life just wondering why you didn't do it. And you're putting something off, like I said before, is just, you're not going to know what the results will be or the potential that it has if you don't give it a go and try. And I kind of always say this when people kind of like throw business ideas at me, or I should do it. I'm like, do it, just do it. I'm just like, just give it a go, because you just don't know what it can happen and what can happen. And I didn't know that learning packs were going to turn into what life I have now. I didn't realize that, creating something like that was going to make me sort of go, oh, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do this. So I'm always like kind of adding in a new element. And it's really, if I didn't give it a go, if I didn't try, like even my homeschool Hive membership, if I didn't sort of go, all right, let's just try this out. Let's just do it. And keep putting it off, then I'd be now going, I wish I did it sooner.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Starting and knowing that you can pivot, knowing that you can change, but just going full steam ahead. And then if you need to change tracks, you can. So, Bushra, thank you so much. Where do people find you? Where do people connect with you? Where do people get more of you?
The best place would be my Instagram page, learnwithmissb.co. And I'm sure it will be in the show notes.
It absolutely will. You can go follow Bushra. You can get one of her learning packs. They're absolutely brilliant. The moment my niece is just a little bit older, I'll be getting her a learning pack. I'll be getting her the not so tricky word cards. You really are just really creating a new wave for early childhood education. And I think that's so exciting. So definitely one to watch. An incredible mother, an incredible business owner, and an incredible member of the playground. So I'm very grateful
for you,
for you.
Alicia, likewise.
All right, Queens, thank you so much for joining in on today's episode. I have some really incredible guests coming up, but if there is a guest that you would love to hear from, if there is a topic you'd love to hear about on the She Got Lucky podcast, if there's someone's story that needs to be shared, please be sure to send me a message and let me know who should be on the She Got Lucky podcast next. But until next episode, I'll see you on the gram.